A freezing cold afternoon in February 2001. Virginia's Foxstone Park was as quiet as any other day. The sun filtered through the skeletal branches of the trees, casting distorted, jagged shadows across the frozen ground. A 56-year-old man, wrapped in a heavy, dark overcoat, steps out of his car with calculated precision. There was not a single wrinkle of worry on his face, only a haunting emptiness in his eyes. He walks slowly toward a wooden footbridge. In his hand, he carries a small package, meticulously wrapped in plastic. He reaches under the bridge, tucking the package into a pre-arranged secret corner. He feels like he has won. He believes the game he has been playing for the last 25 years will never end. But as he turns back toward his car, the silence is suddenly shattered. "Freeze! FBI!" Dozens of armed agents emerge from behind the bushes and trees. On the man's face, there was neither fear nor regret. He simply looked calmly at the agents, men who until yesterday were his colleagues, his friends. In a low voice he said, "What took you so long?" This man was no ordinary criminal. This was Robert Philip Hanssen, a senior FBI official, a counterintelligence expert, the very man tasked with finding Russian spies hidden in America. But the reality was that he had become the most dangerous double agent in history. Hanssen's story is more complex than any Hollywood movie. It is not just the story of a spy, but the tale of a man who used his intellect and position to cut at the very roots of his own country. In the 1970s, when Hanssen joined the FBI, he was seen as a soft-spoken and religious man. He was a member of a strict Catholic organization called Opus Dei. His colleagues nicknamed him the Drain because he was always so quiet. But behind that calm face, a demon was growing, a hunger that would never be satisfied. In 1985, at the height of the Cold War, Hanssen took a step that would forever stand in the history of American intelligence. Without any pressure, by his own choice, he wrote a letter to the Soviet Union's intelligence agency, the KGB. What was in that letter? The names of America's most precious spies working inside Russia for Washington. Hanssen had not just sold names, he had signed their death warrants. This began a cycle of distrust between the CIA and the FBI, a price that would eventually be paid in the blood of the innocent. Hanssen never revealed his real name to the Russians. To them, he was only a code name, Ramon Garcia. He was so cunning that he never met a Russian agent face to face. He knew that in the world of intelligence, human contact is the greatest weakness. Instead, he made the dead drop technique his weapon. He would leave information in secret spots within the lonely parks of Washington and Virginia, and in return, he would pick up cash or diamonds. Between 1985 and 1991, the information Hanssen gave to the Soviet Union is hard to even imagine. He leaked files on America's continuity of government plan. These were the files detailing where the U.S. president and cabinet would be hidden and how a counterattack would be launched if Russia ever hit America with a nuclear strike. Think about it. If war had broken out, Russia would have known America's next move in advance. Hanssen did not just sell papers. He broke America's defensive shield. But his most horrific betrayal was exposing double agents like Boris Yuzhin and Valery Martinov. These were the people who served as America's eyes and ears inside the Russian government. Based on Hanssen's tip, these spies were arrested in Russia, subjected to inhuman torture, and finally shot in the head. Panic erupted at CIA headquarters. They could not understand why their most secret missions were failing one after another. They suspected a traitor among them, but their suspicion did not turn toward the FBI. It turned toward their own people. Meanwhile, Hanssen continued to receive promotions within the FBI. He was made the head of the very unit whose job was to catch Russian spies. It was like hiring a wolf to guard the sheep. Hanssen was now personally monitoring the investigations meant to catch him. He would log into the FBI computer system to see if anyone was investigating a suspect named Robert Hanssen. He became so fearless that he even gave Moscow information about America's billion-dollar eavesdropping tunnel. A tunnel America had dug directly beneath the Soviet embassy in Washington. When the Russians found out, they did not close the tunnel. Instead, they sat there and spoke only what they wanted America to hear. Hanssen had pushed America into a labyrinth where the line between truth and lies had vanished. Early 1990s. The Soviet Union had collapsed, but the spy war had not stopped. Top officials at the FBI and CIA were now certain there was a massive hole in the heart of their system. A special task force was formed to find this traitor. But here, Hanssen's luck and cunning played another game. Suspicion fell on Brian Kelly, a loyal CIA officer. Brian Kelly's life was turned into a living hell. His house was searched, his family was watched, and he was kept under suspension for years. Meanwhile, the real culprit, Robert Hanssen, sat in the very meetings where the plots to frame Brian Kelly were being hatched. Hanssen now possessed a power that is a dream for any spy. He was completely untouchable. He had warned Moscow that America was looking for a traitor, so he stopped his dead drops for a while. During this time, Hanssen's private life took a strange turn. In front of his wife, Bernadette, and their 6 children, he remained a model father. He went to church every Sunday and gave to charity. But with the same money he earned from his betrayal, he was having an affair with an outside acquaintance and giving her expensive gifts. He owned luxury cars, but he never took them to the FBI office. He was living a double life, a saint on one side, a devil on the other. Tensions rose further in 1994 when another spy, Aldrich Ames, was caught. Everyone thought the betrayal would end there, but even after Ames was caught, top-secret information continued to leak. It was clear that Ames was not alone. There was another mole hollowing out the system from within. Hanssen began to feel like the god of this game. He started writing to the Russians again, but this time he raised his price. He demanded millions of dollars from Moscow. He did not know that within the very Russia he was selling his loyalty to, people were emerging who wanted to work for America. Hanssen's ego was about to become the first step of his downfall. The year 2000, the FBI made a bold move. They offered a former Russian spy $7 million to bring them the real file of the traitor. It was a dangerous mission, but it succeeded. That Russian agent delivered a file to America that left the FBI in shock. There was no name in the file, but there was a plastic trash bag and an audio tape with the voice of Ramon Garcia. When FBI forensic experts examined that bag, they found 2 fingerprints on it. The computer matched those prints, and the name that appeared on the screen caused a haunting silence at FBI headquarters. That name was Robert Hanssen. But arresting Hanssen directly was difficult. They wanted to catch him red-handed, so there would be no doubt in court. For this, Operation Grey Suit was launched. The FBI created a new position for Hanssen and shifted him to a new office. Hanssen thought it was a reward for his talent, but in reality, every corner of that office was equipped with cameras and microphones. They even placed sensors under his computer keyboard. A young agent, Eric O'Neill, was sent as Hanssen's assistant. Eric's job was to win Hanssen's trust and report his every move. Eric saw that Hanssen was a highly eccentric and terrifying man. He was always on alert. One day, Eric got a hold of Hanssen's Palm Pilot and decoded it. It contained a list of the dead drop locations where Hanssen was to meet the Russians. The suspense was at its peak. Hanssen began to suspect that Eric was more than just an assistant. One evening, Hanssen called Eric into his office and began asking sharp questions. Eric's life was on the line, but he did not give in. Meanwhile, Hanssen was preparing for his final betrayal. He sent a message to Moscow saying he feared his identity was exposed and he wanted to flee the country. But before leaving, he had to make one last drop, the package containing America's freshest secrets. February 18, 2001, the day Robert Hanssen's 25 years old mask was about to be ripped off. Hanssen reached Foxstone Park in his car. He went under the bridge, placed his package, and as he turned back, the long arms of the law grabbed him. After his arrest, Hanssen's behavior was strange. He offered no resistance. During interrogation, he admitted that he did it all not just for money, but to satisfy his ego. He wanted to show the system that he was far smarter than them. To avoid the death penalty, he made a plea bargain with the FBI. He promised to give up every piece of information